deconstruction.
What's up, everybody? It's the Hardy Construction. You can find us on Instagram, Tumblr, Facebook, as well as Twitter with your host Comp and
Raisin Han.
Today's film is
The Howling, 1981.
The Howling, 1981.
Oh.
After a bizarre and near-fatal encounter with a serial killer, a television newswoman, I was going to say woodsman, well, that would have been a different movie, is sent to a remote mountain resort whose residents may not be what they seem. Directed by Joe Dante, written by the Gary Brandner, who did the original novel, and the screenplay by John Sayles, starring Dee Wallace, Patrick McNee, Dennis Dugan, Christopher Stone, Belinda Balaski, Kevin McCarthy, John Carradine, Slim Pickens, Elizabeth Brooks, and Robert Picardo. So, Danny, why'd you pick The Howling, 1981?
There's so few good werewolf movies, you know?
That's true, because
and this one has like a million sequels, and I've seen a couple of the sequels, but I don't think I ever saw the original.
I only saw this for the first time Halloween, the previous Halloween, I guess 2017's Halloween. I'd never seen the film. For some reason, because there were so many sequels to it, for some reason one of them that sticks out to me is like The Howling something, the Marsupials, because I think it takes place in Australia. And I was like, I don't want to watch that.
Were they like kangaroos or something?
I think they were like, versions of them or something. I
remember the reason I saw Howling 3 or something when I was a kid is because I had a friend, he was dyslexic, and we sent him to the video store to get Halloween, and he got The Howling.
What if he got you something called a Ginlo, and it was like an Asian movie, and he was like, hey, look, see, because
that would have been cool.
Reading backwards. All right, never mind. So the reason why I never really saw the Howling films is because there were so many fucking sequels to this. I was like, this movie has to be terrible, which is like my stupid thinking, because obviously a first movie that's decent would have good, like terrible sequels. But
it's like a lot of movies that have all these franchise movies. Like they have had a couple of good ones at some point. They had to.
Yeah, I guess so. Because I mean, like that's the reason why I didn't see it in the movie. I knew about it, and I had known about the ending. Like I had like scanned television while I was playing on television. I saw the ending where she's going crazy in the newscast.
It's a great scene.
Right, and I was like, I'm not gonna watch this. Like I just thought it was gonna be just sort of some piece of shit werewolf movie. Because there's honestly there's probably only 3 good werewolf movies that I've seen myself, which is this one, American Werewolf in London, and Dog Soldiers. That's probably the only 3 I can remember.
The one with that old guy was okay.
I thought it was okay. Yeah, well, that was fine. But once I saw the werewolves themselves, I sort of took down the points for that film. They sort of look like gremlins, like really bad. Fucking that was why do we always forget the name of that movie?
I remember not thinking it was that bad. But
the only thing with that movie, if you don't know, it's called Late Phases. That was a movie that reviewed a couple episodes, actually a lot of episodes back. Late Phases is about this old blind guy who moves to a retirement community, and then he gets attacked by werewolves. And my 2 problems with that movie was that his dog gets killed within like the first 20 minutes of the movie, and he instantly figures out it's a fucking werewolf. Let's say this is real life, and something that kills your dog, and then he starts making silver bullets. I was like, how is this a leap of logic for this man? Like, how do you do that? And then
maybe he's like an idiot savant, but with werewolves.
Maybe he could only see werewolves with his blind eyes. Like, that was the only part of the refracting of his eyes. And also the werewolves were fucking the worst werewolves I've ever seen on film. Anyway, back to this film, The Howling. I had actually saw this on like around October. This is when, when movies, television is actually good for the month, is October. I can swear there's no other...
October.
There really is no other good... like month of television. And maybe that's because
really
you and I lean towards horror films. Like we wouldn't...
what I love about October is that it's the one time where everybody is into this stuff. Even if they only know the mainstream stuff, still it's cool to like hear regular people talking about like Jason Voorhees.
Yeah, like you and I would probably be more open to seeing a horror film than seeing any other type of film if it's on television. Like just sort of
pretty much. Yeah.
So I was on, I forgot what channel it was, but it was like one of the regular broadcast channels, like Channel 9 or something, like not a cable channel. And I was just like, I was just changing channel, and I saw the opening credits. And it was actually a really stylized opening credits, like a television changing. And it said, and I was like, it said The Howling. And I was like, you know what, fuck it. Whatever, let me just watch The Howling. I'm like doing artwork on the side, and I'm just watching it.
Yeah,
and
it's surprisingly good.
It's a very good movie, and you know why? Because it's Joe Dante. Joe Dante
who did Gremlins,
right? And if you're ever interested in Joe Dante,
Dick Miller was in it too. The old guy. He's also Uncle Willie.
Yeah, Dick Miller is in the movie for about 10, 15 minutes. He's like a bookseller.
But his part is like great.
Right,
He's
right.
always good in movies.
He says
He's
this
great.
is his favorite role of all time. And I'm like, man, how many movies did you do that?
And he's such a New Yorker in it. Like, I know he's actually from New York, but he's like, what am I, fucking idiot?
Yeah, and he knows he knows like what he's saying is full of shit. But there's a lot of recognizable faces in it. Dee Wallace was in, I believe, Close Encounters of the Third Kind. She was probably
She's super cute.
Was she in? No, she wasn't in any. I'm trying to think what other movie she was in. But that once you work with Steven Spielberg once, I don't think you have to worry about ever getting. Well, I wouldn't say that, but definitely if you've seen her, you know, because Steven Spielberg like is one of those guys that gives you the holy touch.
I definitely recognize her. I don't know why.
Yeah.
And she's just awesome. Like she's
she's
really
great
cute,
in this. She's really, really good in this film. So this film deals with what, Danny? Who is Dee Wallace playing?
She is like a newscaster, and she's being stalked by this guy Eddie Quist. I think I'm saying his name right. Who's a serial killer, who's a werewolf, and but they obviously people don't know he's a werewolf, and so basically they set him up with the cops to for her to go meet him in some like porn shop or something.
So she's a news reporter named Karen White, and she's being stalked by a serial murderer, like you said, Eddie Quist, who's played by Robert Picardo. I didn't recognize him originally. He sort of looks like Ted Raimi, Sam Raimi's brother.
He's a creepy looking guy.
He's been in everything. He was actually in I think one of the Star Trek series. Because like once you've seen him, you're like, oh yeah, I've seen him in a bunch of stuff, but I don't. You know what the funny thing is?
What?
Here's some gossip. I think his ex-wife, she was pissed off at him, and then it was like on the news. She said that her husband, because he has a good friendship with Bill Nye. She was saying that they have a gay relationship going on, and that's why they divorced.
Really?
So I just imagine.
I don't think that's true.
Thing is, I've never seen I don't know what not that there's any issue with it, but Bill Nye's sexuality. What if he was gay?
It's just gossip.
I know,
don't
but
think that's really true.
I could imagine if Bill Nye's teaching him science experiments on his butt.
He's putting on a bow tie. As they,
and then you see his Bill Nye's head floating in the air in a circle once he's having an
orgasm.
There's
a vial of just smoke or something.
And then he starts talking about how God doesn't exist because that's what Bill Nye does now. It's so funny because it's as a kid you're watching Bill Nye.
Did you ever see there was a debate between him and this crazy Australian man who believes in creationism?
Oh yes, I seen that. That was a big deal.
Ken Ham. It was so funny because you just see Bill Nye's face, and he'd be you could tell he's trying not to explode inside.
It's funny because Bill Nye is not a scientist. He's not an actual degreed scientist, but everybody just figures him as a TV scientist.
Well,
he knows his shit.
An entertainer.
Yeah, obviously he knows his shit, but it's just so funny because then that's what everybody's excuse is when he argues certain things. But it's no, obviously the guy reads on shit. It's sort of he's pompous, but he's sort of not as pompous as who's the other dude that's really famous.
Well, he's an actual scientist, Neil
deGrasse Tyson. But Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Neil deGrasse Tyson is a real scientist.
Yeah, but the funny thing about
he's a genius.
Yeah, but it's just the way that deGrasse Tyson is one of those super nerds that did not get any pussy way back when, and now he's married and he's super famous, so he's super. He thinks he's hilarious now. But you know what? He's smart.
He's awesome. I love him.
No, I think he's great too. I just think that he thinks he's funny. You know how you and I think
he is funny.
But you know how you and I think that we're funny and nobody else thinks that we're funny. I think that's the same thing with him. So that's the problem. But anyway, back to the what movie we talking about again? The Howling.
The Howling.
The Howling. Remember? So Danny and I were talking about an actual. Yeah, I think we just made a joke that's only gonna make funny.
Now
to us.
You know when the scene where her husband is... And first of all, why does her husband so quickly embrace being a bad werewolf?
I think it was just he couldn't control it. He sort of had some sexual transmitted disease.
It. Why couldn't he?
Well, she's a woman. He was thinking with his genitals, as a dog would.
That's true.
Female dogs don't think...
I had a question, a hypothetical.
Hey, Danny, did she turn into a real bitch at the end, huh?
Oh shit, she did.
Get it? Go ahead.
When a human werewolf has sex with a werewolf, Does that count as bestiality?
Do the other werewolves break his door down? And
Yeah, is that like interspecies, or does it still count?
You see some werewolves who have badly torn cop outfits on, and they're like, "Ray, what are you ruined?" And they arrest them. Anyway, what the fuck are we talking about? So, you know what's funny is that
and they have whistles, like police whistles, but they're silent whistles that only dogs get.
But the thing is, they'll blow the whistle and then all the dogs come to them, so it doesn't matter who they're whistling for. What are their guard? Well, whatever. I guess they have werewolf guard dogs too. Oh, we're like spinning into a vortex.
They probably have human dogs.
That's true.
Guard dogs.
You know what's weird about her husband? Her husband is who's her husband? Her husband. I'm like looking through the wiki.
Her husband is such a weird looking man.
No, because I thought he was the guy from Night of the Creeps when I first saw.
Yeah, he looks like that guy.
He looks just like that actor from Night of the Creeps and Halloween 3. You know, that guy who's sort of like a weird version of Charles Bronson, but without the, you know. Like a real, he's a real man's man, you know. But this guy is not that guy.
He's like a sexy man, but it's not that guy. He's in Cujo though.
Oh, that's right. He let his wife get fucked by a maniac, and then he had to his dog. Right. Whatever. That was a good movie, Cujo. So the whole deal is that Eddie Quist says he wants to meet up with her because she's doing an interview piece, or she wants to, you know, just get a one-on-one interview with him and talk about it.
This is a man who, as far as we know, he just bites people as a human. Nobody knows he's a werewolf, obviously, but they're calling him a however the fuck you say it, which is, you know, they're saying it's like a mental disease or whatever.
Yeah, lycanthrope is a term for people that think that they're werewolves and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's a term I learned like a long time ago for some reason, and at a comic book store. I just looked at the word and I was like, what the fuck does this mean? But anyway, so he's obviously a serial killer. I don't know why. If he actually turns into a werewolf and they find bite marks on people, they would, I'm sure, scientifically see that these are probably like dog teeth that are biting somebody, not human teeth. But whatever, it's a movie. So he meets her at a walk-in porn shop. I think they still have some of those in New York City. And
Giuliani took out all the fun of New York City. He got rid of most of them.
Giuliani just turned into a he's just turned into a twat.
That guy's a
he
nut
just
job
became a nut job twat.
Yeah, he's a total nut.
Chris Rock's greatest joke about Giuliani is like, Giuliani walks out, goes 9/11, 9/11, and Chris Rock says, well, what about 9/10? Because nobody gave a fuck about him until he started making believe he was some sort of weirdo.
Yep. He basically took all the, and this, I guess you could see this as a good thing, but he, passed a law that none of the sex shops could be within a certain amount of distance from each other, and also a certain amount of distance from like schools and all this stuff. So he effectively removed all sex shops from Times Square and turned it into Disneyland.
That's fine. I mean, were you visiting those sex shops?
I mean, it's not about that. It's a part of culture.
It's like so in one of those, there's a customer of the month with a fucking photo of Danny there. So she has a bad encounter with this Eddie Quist in one of those porn booths. And I think he wants to turn her into a wolf, or he just wants to eat her. I guess he wanted to kill her. I wasn't sure what his intention was.
I think he wanted to. I think it was not just to kill her, because otherwise he would have just killed her.
That's
right?
true.
Like
he gives her an effectively brick shitting moment inside that room, and it's done really well. Like, it feels very dark and seedy. The thing is, this and an American Werewolf in Paris. I'm sorry. Never mind. Not that movie. American Werewolf in London were being filmed at the same time, and actually the original.
The effects guy.
Yeah, that
was originally going to do that, and then he went to
that's
the other
guy.
one.
What the hell is his name? The guy who did the Terminator. Oh Christ! Why am I forgetting his name?
I'll look it up.
Either way, the guy who was working under him was Rob Bottin, and Rob Bottin is like, there's only like really 4 special effects, like actual effects that people see, like physical effects. Rick Baker, who passed away unfortunately. Did he die? I don't know. It was Stan Winston that died. I think Rick Baker's still alive. But there's only like really 4 sort of special effects guys, which was like Rick Baker, Rob Bottin, Stan Winston. I forget who the 4th one. Stan Winston, I think, is the one who did the Terminator. Excuse me. Anyway, so
he's still alive, Rick Baker.
Yeah. So Rick Baker left. He was supposed to do the special effects scene in this of the guy transforming into a werewolf, and he, gave the reins to his the guy working under him, Rob Bottin. I think Rob Bottin did a lot of horror effects, and
they did a good job.
It did a really good job, and it really stands the test of time. Like,
there's a lot more effects in this than in American Werewolf in London.
Yeah,
also.
and but there's a lot of cool creature effects and like the Nazi zombies and shit like that in the other one. But there's like while watching this, like when I saw the makeup effects, like I mean the transformation, I was like, damn, that's really fucking good. Like I thought it was up there. It was just a little bit under the American Werewolf in London one because for some reason everybody thinks that's the holy grail of all like transformation.
I mean that
scenes.
Particular scene where you see him like looking at his hand growing.
Yeah, it's great.
Is, to me, one of the best.
Yeah, like,
ever,
and the thing is, like, I can't really say I've seen that many transformation scenes of a person turning into a werewolf. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it seems like they don't really try for the most part because everybody seems like to be afraid of being compared to American Werewolf in London. But this one is very good, and I think the reason why they tried so hard with this one is because they didn't know. You know, American Werewolf in London
came out the same
year,
year.
It was basically
you know?
they were being filmed at the same time, so there was no real. Comparison between the two. But this one stands on its own as being really fucking good. Like his face, transforming and his hand. Yeah. Probably the only effect that's really bad is the cartoon wolves having sex by campfire.
Yeah, that's kind of bad.
Worst effect I saw. It was like it's like a human before they turn into a werewolf, they turn into a 2D animated cell.
That's part of the transformation.
So anyway,
process.
Karen obviously has a traumatic experience with Eddie Quist. And she's like going bonkers, like she can't even go to sleep. And there's a guy named Patrick McNee who's been in a lot of stuff too, but I can't think of what he's in. I'm almost like this guy looks like a fucking
the Doctor
Who type of guy. He's playing Dr. George Wagner. Hey, get it? Because he's got a tail. Anyway,
yeah.
I'm just guessing. I don't really know if that's the case. So anyway, Wagner.
No, I know, but that's funny.
Wagner, I think, was Eddie Quist somebody that he spoke to a lot? I wasn't sure. Or he was like trying to figure out who he was.
I mean, they obviously know him.
And Eddie Quist was an artist.
Society.
Yeah, Eddie Quist was an artist, and his art was actually really good looking. And there's these two other characters. I think it was. Let me see. Is it?
Chris and Terry.
Chris and Terry. And Chris, I think, is the boyfriend of Terry, right?
Yeah, but I mean, doesn't he? It was a little confusing. Does he work at the station, the media station?
I have no.
Because he was there, like reading the teleprompter and everything.
Because I guess they do. I guess they must be, as well journalists as well, or they probably write the copy.
Yeah, I think they work with her, but behind the scenes or something. I was a little confused actually.
But they're trying to figure out more about Eddie Quist's story because I believe the corpse disappears from the from the morgue. And anyway, so Karen can't deal with her shit, so she and her husband go off into this resort or like this retreat that Wagner runs with all these people that sort of look like hedonists. And there's two people there that look like fucking they walked out of Mad Max or something.
I would have had a great time in that place. And Donna was kind of cool. Like I would have fucked Donna, even if I knew she was a werewolf.
Yeah, so Donna was.
Do you think you'd become a werewolf if you had unprotected sex with a human werewolf, but in human form?
No, but I bet you get fleas.
Crabs, right?
So essentially, what we're seeing is there's some sort of weird mystery going on because there's this other unseen werewolf that I believe it's Donna's brother. I think that's doing it. Is it right? Is that flaky looking dude? But the thing is, you're not really sure of who really is a werewolf in this movie, and I like that aspect of it.
That's Marsha's brother. The
right.
One that's like the sex nympha.
Well, that's Eddie Quist then, right? I'm getting lost with all these characters' fucking names.
There's a lot of names,
and basically the whole film becomes a sort of weird mystery, and
who done it?
Karen's coworker gets slaughtered. Really cool. She gets her throat bitten. There's a nice little. It's not a huge body count as seeing people getting killed left and right, but I think it works for what it is because I think
that this film perpetuates fear of werewolves, and I don't think that's fair to the werewolf community. It's like the guy that made Jaws regretted making Jaws because everybody started being scared of sharks and hunting them more.
What's weird is that there's if you look on YouTube, like I can understand if people think that they, they're vampire, not think, but they try to be vampires.
There are the people that think they're werewolves,
and they actually drink blood and stuff. And you can see it on YouTube. Like I actually went to one of those things. I don't even know I'm supposed to talk about it in public. I might get haunted by real vampire people. But I saw somebody becoming sired or some shit like that at a goth club, and I was like, "This is disgusting." Like I saw somebody drinking blood, and I was like, "I got to get out of here."
I mean, I find that stuff all kind of sexy, but
and then they also played the Blade theme, which was pretty funny. That techno song, which was great. Anyway, so but then if you go on YouTube and you see people that like think that they're werewolves or wolf people or something like that, and they're like teenage goths, and it's just like really sad. At least
it's like that South Park episode. And then they find out the source of all the vampires is Hot Topic.
Because at least, vampires, people can actually drink blood. I don't know what wolves do unless they start pissing on walls and then the other wolf people
wolves
smell
just
it.
like howl at the moon and, like smell each other's butts.
Which is fine. I do that anyway. So Eddie Quist comes back. There's a nice little battle there. I like... Were there things about this that you didn't like?
Not much. I mean, I guess some of the effects were a little cheap, but that's because of the time period and the budget. They only spent like $1 million or something. But the cartoon sex scene could have been better.
Right.
And
yeah. I think they literally ran out of money towards the end. Like certain scenes, like transformation scenes or other scenes, they actually did it at the director's apartment.
Than others.
Yeah, they did it in the director's apartment.
The music was like very Ghouls and Goblins or like Castlevania, which was cool.
Oh, yeah. So I did also like that Chris sort of comes in as a secondary protagonist out of nowhere. Because he's, obviously worried about his girlfriend, so that gives him a good in to come towards the end of the film and help out Karen. And,
do you think Terry will come back to life, or is she dead?
No, I bit out her jugular, so I think she was pretty much dead. Like, I think if you get bitten, because, like, the husband got bitten, so it was able to come back. But it's sort of like a zombie film, when you watch zombie shows, like, if a zombie eats a person, they're they eat them. They don't just bite them and they get away. Because I would assume most zombie people...
you have to kill the brain, though.
Right, that's true. So I don't know if the zombies eat the... Yeah, do you notice that? Like, the zombies don't eat the brains in certain, like The Walking Dead or something? They just eat the body?
Well, that's like Romero. They don't like necessarily have thoughts. They're just eating meat. But like
in Return of the Living Dead, they specifically ate people's brains and killed them.
But that's like a comedy. Like that's
I still think it's. I actually prefer that series over anyway. But
I do love that movie.
So with this, I mean, it's really dramatic. It's like I don't think there's not like really comedy in this film, even though Joe Dante sort of seems to have a dark sort of humor. I didn't really laugh at anything in this movie.
Some of the people in the colony are funny.
Yeah, they're sort of I guess you're right. They're sort of goofballs, and Eddie Quist is obviously funny. Like he made up that line. I want to give you a piece of my mind, and he pulls a bullet out of his head. All that stupid shit. Karen's husband is obviously a dick because
you were thinking of Rob Atkins or something, or.
Who are you talking about?
Tom Atkins. Tom Atkins.
Yeah, Tom Atkins. That's the guy from Halloween 3. Yeah, he looks like him.
Night of the Creeps.
Yeah, he was in Halloween 3 too. He was the main guy in both of those. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So, what the hell is her husband's name? Because I'm gonna go nuts.
Her name is Bill.
Bill, right? Where's he? Okay, so Christopher Stone. Oh, that was Dee Wallace's husband in real life. He actually I remember listening to her on the Gilbert Godfrey podcast. They were interviewing her, and I think he passed away.
Oh, she was on that?
Huh? Yeah, she was on it, and he was obviously saying dirty shit to her. I think they were like dating during the timing of this filming, and I think she got him the job on this movie, and I think he like passed away at an early age. But she's still around, and she's like also still making... I saw some sort of... She made some recent horror film that had to deal with like abortion or some shit like that. I wasn't sure, but she said it was good. I was like, yeah, I'll give it a look. It's like a Christmas-themed horror film. But she's still, she's still around. She's doing stuff, so good for her. And she's a very good actor. She seems almost like... like... Any type of actor seems like that. Nowadays, horror films are pretty mainstream to the fact that they use real good actors, not like pieces of shit. But this is a horror film that was pretty high end. Do you know what I mean? They could do any sort of shitty sort of.
It wasn't a B.
Yeah, no, it's above it. It's a higher letter grade than.
And nowadays, all the Bs like know they're a B and like make a joke out of being a B, whereas back in the '80s they were genuinely Bs.
Yeah. This one was like really way better than it should have been. As if you think about werewolf movies back then. Because there was only two really probably good werewolf movies, which is this and American Werewolf in London. But what do you have any thoughts about how the film worked for you and why did it work for you?
I mean, there's nothing bad to say at all.
Really? Yeah.
I want to watch the sequels and see if they're like any good. I remember liking the third one when I was a kid, but I don't know if that means anything because I was like so little.
I mean, the ending of this movie is fucking great. Like I put the ending up there with They Live sort of ending.
What? How she's still alive at the bar? or like
No. I'm talking
shooting
about when they get,
everybody.
when she turns into a werewolf on television.
Oh yeah, no, that's
and then
great.
people thought it was bullshit. You know what I mean? That's what I liked about this ending, and that's what I liked about they're very.
Some people thought it was bullshit.
Yeah, obviously the guy at the end. I forget the guy at the end. I think he's obviously a famous producer or something. The guy who plays that.
With the guy at the bar who's
yeah, he's like a famous producer or writer. So I can't think of the name of the guy who played him. But obviously that was like a joke that they put him in that.
But
scene.
some people will believe it.
Oh yeah, I'm sure of it. Listen, if people don't think,
Now she's dead. So what are they going to say?
Yeah, right. They saw her die on television. But I really like the ending of this film a lot because she was just sort of like. It's like she sacrifices herself essentially to get a greater truth out there. And
she's not a very attractive werewolf. She kind of looks. I mean, she's not nearly as attractive as a werewolf as she is like
Ginger
a human.
Snaps werewolf. You mean?
Yeah, it turned me off a little bit. Like, I was all like into her, and then she became not that pretty of a werewolf, and it just, my
what about
the
horny?
My boner shrank into my body like a dog.
What about the horny werewolf lady? That was when they turned into wolves having sex, and like
I she's cute, but I would have rathered have sex with Dee Wallace as a werewolf.
Fair enough.
Or Donna, the friendly lady that was her walking around with her the whole time.
Yeah,
she would have been fun to have sex with as a werewolf.
Slim Pickens. Why do I know that name? Slim Pickens was in everything, but I forget who he plays in here.
He's like an old time.
Oh right,
actor.
yes.
It's
Right,
not
I
his real
remember.
name.
Yeah, I remember who that guy is in the movie now. But it leads to a nice scene where they kill all those, old weirdos.
Is
burn
Slim
the house
Pickens
down.
the old man in that?
Yeah,
wants to
yeah,
set
yeah.
himself on fire?
Yeah. Slim Pickens, I think, is one of those actors that started when he was old, maybe. So he was just old and everything.
Right.
But I like that they fuck all those werewolves up and burn the house down with them inside of it. Like, it's great. It was just fun. Like, it's
Would
so
the
cool.
fire definitely kill them? I mean, it does say that a lot of them were dead, but obviously they regenerate.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what werewolf lore is.
I wonder how
werewolf,
flammable
fire
werewolf
and
hair
stuff.
is.
I mean, it's like
Do you think werewolf hair is particularly flammable?
I would think it's like dog hair, like human hair would just burn. I mean, I've never seen...
The thing is, dogs are loyal to humans, so what went wrong with the werewolves?
That's the part, is they're half human, so the human side is the asshole part. That's the part where they're like, they're driven by the greed, like that part of the human...
Because I don't think a wolf... I mean, wolves do hurt people too, but they're, they have potential to be loving creatures. Whereas a werewolf just seems very bad. Although Dee Wallace disproves that stereotype.
Yeah, I guess she'd had a couple of days where she didn't turn into a wolf and she was just sort of fighting it. But yeah,
it would have been funny if she turned into a wolf and killed everybody, including her friend that was going to shoot her.
But if you really look at it, dogs are more loyal to a man than wolves will be. Because you can also see, like, online, there's just, like, videos. There's tons of videos on YouTube, for some reason, of dogs killing wolves that are trying to kill sheep. You know what I mean? So the dogs are essentially helping man, but also protecting the sheep, which I like.
We've
dogs.
had like a symbiotic.
Yeah,
is that how you say?
symbiotic
relationship with dogs for like 15,000 years or something. Like, so
I'm all in with dogs.
To turn dogs into poodles and like chihuahuas and shit. Like those were wolves at some point.
I'm a little allergic to dogs, but I still love them anyway, and I side with dogs over wolves. So is there anything else you want to say about this movie? That there's not really much to say because it's really fucking good, and I'm glad we talked about Bill Nye.
Dogs and wolves drool.
So I would give this movie a 9 out of 10.
Ooh.
9 out of 10, turning into an actual physical werewolf person, and then at the point of climax, turning into a cartoon while ejaculating.
Do you think his dick looked like a dog penis? How it comes out like that
like
red lipstick?
You gotta think he did. Like, that's the only one thing, like, his human brain said, what the fuck? Like, he looked at his dick and got scared. But go ahead.
Yeah, right. That's why he screamed like that.
But what if he suddenly got shocked? It's like, no! But maybe if you got a horse penis, now that'd be really scary. Like, if you had a... Like, there's the thing, like, every guy...
that would be awesome.
Every guy wants their cock to be bigger than it is. Any guy. Yeah. But then, like, if you got a horse dick, I'd be very, like, I'd be disturbed. Like, oh my God. Like, I'd be scared.
Yeah, it's like the size of my arm.
Yeah, like, all of a sudden, I'd feel like I'd get lightheaded whenever I get a boner and I'd fall or something.
Yeah, because so much blood has to go
Yeah.
And you can't even fall because it acts as a kickstand.
You just, like, look like a tripod falling asleep. Okay,
anyway, my rating, I am going to give this... Oh, I agree with you. I'm going to give this a 9 out of 10. It's a very solid movie. Oh, 9 out of 10. Standing and watching for like 2 solid minutes as a man transforms into like a demonic werewolf instead of running, and then waiting until the last moment to throw a conveniently placed vial of acid into his face.
And with that, Danny, what's the final word?
Oh!